Sometimes there aren't enough hours in the day, and sometimes there are way too many. So why not fill them with SiriusXM? Think about it. You can wake up with Howard Stern in the morning, let commercial-free music get you through the daily grind, and then wrap it up with news, talk, and comedy on the way home. All you've got to do is visit SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly, or call 844-711-8800 now. And if the day doesn't go faster, then at least you know it'll sound much better. Channels vary by subscription plan.
Hey, this is Conan O'Brien. Check out my channel, Conan O'Brien Radio, on SiriusXM. You'll find my delightful Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, highlights from my late night shows, showcasing some of the most absurd and hilarious moments from my decades on television.
Come on, everyone, settle down. This is a serious TV show.
Plus, dive deep into 28 years of late night memories and behind the scenes with Inside Conan. Conan O'Brien Radio, only on SiriusXM.
To hear Conan O'Brien Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer. SiriusXM's Joel Osteen Radio.
It set the fire inside of me, and I'm thankful for Joel.
Find your inspiration.
It's just so encouraging. You can't feel down on yourself.
My wife Victoria and I invite you to tune in 24/7 to be encouraged and inspired.
Hope is powerful. Yes, it is.
If you need a miracle, become a miracle.
Listen to SiriusXM, this channel. Your life will never be the same.
Joel Osteen Radio, SiriusXM 128, or listen on the SiriusXM app.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
And hip-hop heroes. The sports stars and comedy legends. With exclusive Black History Month pop-up channels from the Apollo Theater and Teddy Riley.
Are you ready for start time?
Plus in-depth interviews, historical deep dives, new shows, and more.
What's going on? I'm Kevin Hart, and you don't want to miss my show, Gold Mines, with me, Kevin Hart.
Just search Black History Month in the all-new SiriusXM app.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, veni vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, February 16th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Big C sent you, and also tell them sent you where the good Lord split you. If that makes sense to you, sent you where the good Lord split you. That means on the backside. I got so much to talk about today. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast platforms all over the universe, and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and I really do appreciate that. Also want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I love doing the PSA. I love our veterans. My father was a veteran. I have nephews and a brother that's a veteran, and then grandfather's a veteran. But they have a Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone. Call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And I know I do. It's nice when somebody like is leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. Woo! I got some news on reparations for you, and you got to hear it. In fact, when you hear it, tell a friend if that makes sense to you. What I love about Big C Sports Podcast, I always, number one, I produce the show. Number two, I direct the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our life. I knew I could use more laughter. And then number five, the commercials are done. The stats provided, the storytelling, I even do the play-by-play. The show is uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City. And I'm in Denver Hills, California. And number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media, all fair and level. I really do appreciate that. There's so much going on in this great world of sports. I do love telling you what I do with the Big C Sports Podcast. I think I'm the only sports show in the universe that always talks about reparations. I do it all the time. I want to make sure that I keep doing it, because I'm probably one of the only ones that do it. And it doesn't mean that I'm the only one that should do it. Other people should do it too. But I do my part, and I want to give myself some praise for that, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I'm going to make sure that I always pay homage to what I want every, not just sports show, but every show in the universe. Let's pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because I said a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And they're doing their part to make sure that we get our reparations. Oh, there you go again, Big C, talk about reparations. Every culture that's ever gotten reparations, you're not going to want to miss today's show, I'm telling you, because it's real. And everybody, especially people of color, African Americans, if somebody owes you money, you should be able to get the money. They should want to pay you. You don't steal from people. Be told that's a no-no. Oh my God, I'm so grateful, because God has shown me I've been pressured in so many things. But I want to give homage to the California Reparations Task Force. Camila Moore, she's a chair, she's brilliant. And I met all of these wonderful people. Dr. Amy C. Brown's vice chair, he's brilliant. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant, also part of Name, Image, and Likeness for college athletes getting paid, student athletes, as well as the Ebony Alert. He did that. He's the one that has Senate Bill, I'm telling you, SB 490 to Garrett Freeman's Bank in California, and that helps the bank to pay out reparations. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery. She's brilliant. Monica Montgomery Steppe, she's brilliant. Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer, he's brilliant. Really, I do appreciate all these wonderful people. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills, she's brilliant. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder, she's brilliant. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley, he's brilliant. And I want to give praise to Donald K. Tamaki, attorney at law, he's brilliant, part of the California Reparations Task Force. Give them all praise. I said give them praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. I want to give praise to Double O, she's part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me the Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House. You know, President Biden, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, if that makes sense to you. President Abraham Lincoln was America's 16th president. I want to also say, for all the people that wonder about reparations, I want to give praise to Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott out of Florida for reintroducing the bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. They already did that. That was in 2023 over the summertime. And it went kind of under the radar. I want to give praise to Georgetown University for pledging over $1 billion and counting to 272 descendants of chattel slavery that they were sold off to build Georgetown. That's a shame. I want to give praise to Double O, is the pre-op committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. You can register for free, NationalBlackWallStreetProject.com, NationalBlackWallStreetProject.com. She sent me something from the United Nations. It says that strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's a United Nations report. I want to thank, this is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want $6 billion. And I want to thank McDonald's, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. All fair and level work. Google Freedmen's Bank, FREEDMENS Bank, and you can realize the history of money and reparations for descendants of chattel slavery in the United States of America. Freedmen's Bank, you can Google it. It was established in March 1865, to provide a place for former slaves to safely store their money. And after several successful years, they invested over $60 million in the bank. Unfortunately, they were not allowed to get loans for a house or a business, but white Americans were able to get that money and invest it in stocks and bonds and other treasury notes. And that's unfortunate. It was signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln March 3rd, 1865. And then they had 50 white trustees that were named to manage the bank's affairs of black people's money, and they stole the money! How dare you say we don't deserve reparations? I'm not like the other sports shows that just shucking and jiving. If I could get all of our brethren, black and white, men and women, to champion reparations, because you do want to pay people what you owe them, don't you? Well, I know that's fair, and we all do. All's fair in love and war. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause. I have a gentleman coming on. His name is August Wesley, and he is also an Olympic coach with Cape Verde, and he's also a wrestling champion in California, also at Iowa State University, as well as Northern California, Sacramento State. So I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, we're going to have the great August Wesley. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe, and streaming on 4 TV applications: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You know, I have a special guest on today. His name is August Wesley. He has a son by the name of Anthony Wesley, and I have a brother by the name of Anthony, and all's fair and level war. But I really do appreciate the great August Wesley. He is actually the coach of the Olympic team from Cape Verde, and some people say Cape Verde, but it's all fair and level war. But he's on the program today. I believe he's calling just to give up. I want to give an update before we get into any kind of sports. August, can you hear me fine, sir?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Wonderful. I do want to, and I got your permission first, so I want to offer some praise and some prayers for your beautiful mother, and I'll let you take it from there, sir. Go right ahead, please.
Thank you. I just want everybody to lift her up and send prayers. My mother, Victoria, suffered a heart attack, and she's fighting through it, and she's getting better and better each day. But she is right now. She's in Central Valley Specialty Hospital there in Modesto, and she's getting stronger each day. So all the love and prayers, please just come this way. Want to lift her up.
Want to lift her up with a round of applause also. And I'm telling you, she raised a great son, so we give that to God to pull her through, and she's in great hands, and we expect the best for that. So I want to give you the chance to say that, August, because I think you're such a wonderful person, and obviously you come from good seed. I wanna take this time to get into the fact that you are an Olympic coach, and before, I want you to talk about what it's like being an Olympic coach, an African-American, very intelligent. You were actually on my very first TV show about, I think, 2018, and I've yet to see the reel. Unfortunately, I still haven't seen the reel, but it's all fair and love and war. God has God's plans for different things. But talk about what it takes to be an Olympic coach.
Let's go! Olympic year It's exciting. There's energy. There's nerves. You name it, it's going on. I can say this has been my dream from having gone through the Olympic qualification in the United States in 96, in 2000, 2004. I was on the circuit. My older cousin was on the 1988 Olympic team. He was on the 84 Olympic trials. He was on the 92 Olympic trials. So it has been a family thing. And now to have helped and start this program where my family comes from in Cape Verde, which is in the west coast of Africa. It's 10 islands. And Santa Clara is where my dad's family's from. Fogo is where my mother is from. The capital is Praia. And to know that I was instrumental in starting this program and getting this going with the Olympic Committee there is fabulous. I'm excited. And to have my son follow in my footsteps, our family footsteps. And now he is right there at the door knocking to be the next family Olympian, and to have me to be sitting in the chair is going to make me so nervous, but I'm so proud at the same time of the work and energy that he has put in to train, to get his mind wrapped around it, to still stay in school, and to get his master's degree, which is what he did, which is real important, shake and bake, and to keep him on the straight and narrow as he's went through life's trials and tribulations, and now he's in Tokyo, Japan. He's training with the national team there, and he's been putting hands on people left and right. He's peaking at the right time. And he's going to wrestle in the African Championships, which is going to be in Alexandria, Egypt, on the 18th and 19th of March. He's wrestling both freestyle and Greco. And then he's going to do the Olympic trials a week later, which will be all of Africa and Oceania. So you've got Fiji, you've got Australia, New Zealand, Samoa. You got all of them and the African continent together for one Olympic qualifications. He's ready to do it, and I'm going to be proud, and we're going to give you a play-by-play of it when it happens. Trust that, because these Big C Sports have supported us from day one. So I can't wait to give you the exclusive.
Well, I do appreciate you, August. Obviously, the coach of Cape Verde Olympics. His son is doing amazing things. He's wrestled, as you mentioned, multiple international events. I think you also mentioned Tanzania, Morocco, South Africa, Serbia. Talk about the mindset of a young man, a beautiful, intelligent black man going around the world to take his talent that began because of you and introducing him to it because you were introduced to wrestling by a family member. Talk about what it means to see him on the other side of the world now, August.
It means a lot. I can tell you that he has been to so many places. Wrestling has taken him to London, to Paris, to Egypt already. We've already been there. He has just done so many exciting things. He's wrestled in 2 world championships. He's wrestled in 2 African championships. And it's just seeing the world through sport is beautiful. I grew up an Air Force brat. Both of my father and stepfather were both in the Air Force. And I can say that I almost went into the military because it's just a rite of passage to do. But I wanted to see the world through sport, and it opened up my eyes in my life to what I can see behind the curtain. I've been on 6 continents. I've been to over 30 countries. And I can just say I have friends everywhere, which is why I keep this old phone, because it has all these contacts in there, and I need each and every one of them.
You know, I was told I have an old phone too. I said to T-Mobile, I just got this phone last year. They said, well, it's old, get a new one. But they didn't want to give me a new one. They wanted me to buy one. But I want to get your thoughts on something too, because we just finished Super Bowl 58, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And you know, a lot of young African-American men, they've been sucked and recruited and picked and prodded and pulled into playing football and basketball. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, those are great sports. But when you think about wrestling and what your son is doing in wrestling, tell me, is that message coming loud and clear to African-American young athletes the way football and basketball has been over the years? Your thoughts, August?
You know, that can take me in a lot of directions because really the mindset comes in at a young age with football and basketball. one, basketball, you don't need some of the same resources that you need to play football or other sports. You just need a ball. There's hoops all around America.
Yeah.
But when you use the football, now you're going to need cleats.
Yeah.
Now you're going to need a ball, helmet, shoulder pads. Now you're going to need some form of insurance. You're going to pay some fees, or parents going to volunteer, right?
Yeah.
So you got to think of that's an institution that they have that people just keep going through those turnstiles because that's an American sport. You don't play football on other continents and other countries, right? Soccer, you can play everywhere. Football is something that we made up, and that's why we dominate it. Fair is fair, like you said, but at the end of the day, the way that it's shown and highlighted, you see that NFL is king.
Yes,
they own the networks. You think about when NFL goes off TV, how many shows start on Thursday, on Sunday, Monday Night Football. All of these shows start after NFL ends because that's a 3-hour block of time that doesn't go to regular stuff. People pay good money for those commercial spots because of the amount of people that watch football. So it's just 300 people in the United States, 300 million in the United States, and it showed over 100 million was watching the Super Bowl. Granted, it could be because of the halftime show. It could be a little bit of Taylor Swift. It could be a little bit of Chiefs. It could be a little bit of a lot of things, but they are glued. That's why they get so much. So there is so much emphasis putting in on how people make it in football and basketball. Unfortunately, those same kids that are fed that dream, Jonathan, are not given the resources, the education to take care of that money, no matter where it's coming from, or to take care of their families in the big picture, because they're not taught that in schools. And that's unfortunate that you see so many kids, so many young adults not getting that second contract. They get their rookie contract and everybody's wonderful in their rookie contract. Their second contract is their big contract, and then you see now there's a problem. Now they're questioning your ability. Now they're questioning how productive you were. But when you were on that first contract, like Brock Purdy, he went to Iowa State, which is where I coached and where my son went to college. But you got to see, they were even starting to talk about him. He's going to be off of his rookie contract. He's going to want more money. He's going to be looking for better dollars. He was in the MVP conversation earlier in the year.
That's right.
So now all of a sudden, they're going to be looking at how valuable is he? Is he a game manager? If we take that same application and put it to a person of color, they have to start with that, because automatically brothers weren't given the opportunity to be a quarterback. Brothers, especially if you could scramble, wasn't having those chances. When you had a Steve McNair, a McNabb, a Vic, you had these people that was doing it at a longer time and wasn't seeing the same kind of financial ramifications that they were doing. All of that, that's before brothers were able to be quarterbacks, because they wasn't seen as intellectual enough to understand how to read defenses, or cerebral enough to understand how to run an offense or be the captain of that team. So they was in the back. They had to wait. So I'm just saying, they weren't given the same skill set and tools to harness that money that they could have generational wealth. Too many people fall along the lines of that MC Hammer story, running out of money, going bankrupt. What happened to this? What decisions did he make? And they weren't given the same things, the same tools or skill set to be financial solvent for the rest of their life.
And sometimes that's by design also. We've heard so much about the Willie Lynch letter. It's a real letter. It's not something that's fictional. And
no, that's real.
Yeah, it's a real letter. And speaking of what you just said, August, see, you're a coach, an Olympic coach. You're not just some guy that went down to the YMCA and coached some 10-year-old kids about how to play basketball. You're an Olympic coach. You're an African-American Olympic coach from a country. I want you to talk about that, because that's even more rare than being an NFL quarterback. If you can give your thoughts on what it's like to be an Olympic coach on the BC Sports Podcast, talking about NFL football and other athletes. Give me your thoughts on being an Olympic coach as an African-American, your thoughts.
I can say that two different feelings. When I'm in events that are African events, a lot of people look like me.
Yes.
And I can see the pride. I can see the dignity. Yes. I can see the fact that they're representing Ghana or Nigeria or South Africa or, these countries, and how much it means for them to represent at that level.
Yes.
So I can say I feel like they feel that it's an honor, that I'm privileged, and that hard work pays off.
Yes.
It's when you are outside of that circle and now you are at the World Championships where you got the European countries, you got the Pan-American countries, right?
Yes.
The United States, you got the Southern, you got European, and you got Asia. So when you look around it, it's really interesting because some countries' Olympic committees are ran by the government.
Yes, they are.
China,
yes.
i.e. Russia.
Yes.
Whereas in the United States, America sends Americans to the Olympics.
Yes.
And the fact that I was brought up in the American style and the American way of thinking, I could appreciate it because that's donations, that's M&Ms, that's McDonald's, that's all of them that are sending. It's not some of those other countries that get poked and prodded kids at a young age and put into a systematic approach where you don't see them because they're training and training and training because like that, it's a little bit different. So when I'm around the European countries and those other ones, I can say it feels a little bit different because you know the process we might have had to do a little bit more climbing to get to where you want to get the seat at the table.
Yes.
So I am the voting member for our country in all things for United World Wrestling. So when we vote in our board, when we approve certain things that happen, so with that kind of responsibility, you need a little bit of education.
Yes,
you
do.
need a little bit of patience. You need to be able to communicate with these other leaders. And because I have been able to do that, doors have been open and the playing field has been at least a little bit more leveled. But I can say at first glance, they don't often look at the African nations as competitive, as financially solvent, or as able to get up and go because of visa restrictions that you have coming from certain African nations. You just can't get into Paris. You just can't get into Egypt or the United States. You got to get approval in advance to get in and out of these. So it makes it a little bit more difficult with that kind of a continent. Africa is huge. Unfortunately, the maps that they show do not depict the same disparity sizes between Africa and Europe or the United States. Africa is ridiculously big, and on the maps they consolidate it to look like everything is equal, but it's not. You have different kind of problems that is on East Africa, West Africa, Central or Southern Africa, be it the fact that they're landlocked and don't have the water resources, don't have a stable government, or the fact that they are by the water and you got a Europeans that are over there trying to put timeshares and stuff, trying to push the Africans further inland and take advantage of the stuff that's more coastal. So the fact that you have all those things going on really make it difficult for certain governments to pour money into their Olympic committee to then send people out because they don't have some of the same resources unless they get them from their European business partners. So it's kind of a circle like you were talking about with the football, but you just see that at an Olympic level. So it takes a little bit longer for some of the African nations to equal the playing field to be able to represent at the highest level.
And you know, Mr. August Wesley, coach of Cape Verde Olympic team, and talking to Big C Sports, I'm telling you, what you just said is so real. You know, the feeder system for the Olympics, I was talking to a presidential candidate for the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mr. Mwembe, and he played football for the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs just last year. They had an election back in December. But he talked about in the African continent, it's so large, and oftentimes you have people that come in and to extract the resources, but not to bring in resources, if that makes sense to you. But I want to take you to a thought. It just popped in my mind as you were talking about how many of our young African-American athletes are funneled, are sucked in and recruited into football and basketball. I went by a church, very prominent church in Northern California, and in the parking lot, nothing wrong with it, but in the parking lot, I saw basketball hoops. So you could play basketball when you were not parking in the parking lot to go into the church. They put a basketball hoops in the parking lot of a predominantly African-American church. I don't like that. I'm just one opinion. Some people may love that. But we're telling believe in God and play basketball as opposed, and I'm not saying they didn't do this too, but what about the computers so people can learn world trade, about math and science and education, but even our own clergy, and I'm not knocking anybody, they built a basketball court in the parking lot of a church. I don't like that look. I don't see that in other communities that are not of color. Does that make sense? Your thoughts?
Yes, I got a little bit to say about this, because I haven't seen one of those at a synagogue.
No.
I haven't seen one of those at one of the Muslim mosques.
Nope.
So it's unfortunate that, and by saying this, in all due respect to wherever you saw, maybe they're meeting those student athletes where they're at. Maybe it was voted on. Maybe kids wanted a safe place to be able to work on their skill set. Okay, I get that. But at first glance, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you're only an athlete? Are you only as good as your jump shot? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right? And there are plenty of programs that are designed, the Bridges After School program in the San Juan school districts. There's 10 high schools,
yeah.
And they have computers, they have laptops, they have ways to reach it so those kids can be competitive in the classroom.
Yes, I agree.
Classroom. So many people act as if that they have to go to a Jesuit or they got to go to St. Francis. They don't have to go to there. I can tell you, there's a valedictorian at Elk Grove.
Yeah.
There's a valedictorian at my old school, Center High School.
Yeah.
And they're just as competitive. It's where you're going to put your effort, energy, and resources. And I can just say that it does at first glance. If that's what you see, you say, what are we promoting?
Yeah, what are we promoting?
What are we trying to say?
Right.
And I can see a level of frustration there. But at the end of the day, hopefully they use that for more than that. Hopefully they use that for the coat drive. Hopefully they use that for the canned food drive.
Yeah.
Hopefully they use that for the meeting place to go visit Sac State or UC Davis or Stanford.
Yeah.
Not just to dribble a basketball.
And play basketball. I understand that. This is the great August Wesley, Olympic coach of Cape Verde on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to ask you this question as we talk about many different things. The Kansas City Chiefs repeated as Super Bowl champion. Congratulations, Super Bowl 57. They beat Philadelphia. Super Bowl 58, they beat the 49ers. Only the second overtime game in the history of the Super Bowl. And then we had, of course, Patrick Mahomes, the MVP. It's hard to beat him. But at the same time, when you think about the exposure of the African-American athlete, what I saw him do on that playing surface, it reminded me so much of a Colin Kaepernick. People say, oh, yeah, right, Big C. But a run-pass option. He reminds me so much of Lamar Jackson. A run-pass option. He reminds me so much of a Randall Cunningham back in the day. A run-pass option. Of Michael Vick. A run-pass option.
Yep.
And maybe even if you want to get into Donovan McNabb, a run-pass option. These guys have been to Super Bowls outside of Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. But there was a time they were told you're going to play defensive back or running back or maybe even wide receiver. Has Patrick Mahomes changed the mindset of the old good old boys way of thinking that they can only be linebackers, running backs, receivers? Do you think it's going to open up more doors for African Americans, or is it just kind of a speed bump? Your thoughts?
Wow. First of all, he came from the Big 12. And which is funny because one thing people didn't talk about is both of those guys came from the same conference. You had Iowa State versus Texas Tech.
That's right.
Those are both Big 12 teams. They didn't play that up. I thought they would play that up because none of those guys are first-round draft choices top like that coming out number one, number two.
Yeah.
So they both came from schools that aren't top tier in football, and look at where they are. I thought that should be huge, number one. Number two, Patrick Mahomes. I like the fact that he always seems to be calm.
He is
calculated. There's only been one time that he has even lost his cool. He never misses practice. He doesn't have an issue at home.
Nope.
He's got 2 kids. They was at Disneyland. I mean, look, I am so happy for him and what he is doing.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I do feel as though he is still not getting all his flowers. I'm going to tell you why. Because at first they was attributing it all to some of it to Eric Bieniemy, which I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
But Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Also, Coach Reed.
Yeah.
What he's doing. When are you going to just give it to him for the things that he's doing? You did it to my favorite player, John Elway.
Yeah.
You did it to Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
You did it to Boomer Esiason.
Yeah.
You did it to Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Why can't you just say he is the person that's getting the job done because of his intellect and what he's bringing? Yes, they pushed too many players, people of color. As a matter of fact, wasn't it in the Super Bowl, the first touchdown pass that was thrown was from the receiver, correct?
Yep.
It was the receiver, right?
Yep.
He was the highest-ranking quarterback coming out of high school on that field that day. Did you know that?
That's amazing. Amazing information, August.
Yes. So he was moved to receiver because whatever he had to do to be a pro. But coming out of high school, he was higher ranked than either one of the two starting quarterbacks.
Yes.
But look at his complexion was darker.
Yep. Hey, it's
where maybe he was coming from.
Preach.
So I'm just saying that it's just kind of interesting. But that said, I really hope the fact that Mahomes gets his due for what he does. And actually what people are starting to talk about now is how is he going to do when Kelsey retires, when he doesn't have his safety blanket, when Reed, who should only coach another couple of years, retires. Is he going to be able to keep going because they're talking about him with the GOAT?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about that because of his MVPs, because of his 5,000-plus yards that he's thrown for on multiple occasions, because of the AFC Championship games that he's been in. But excuse me, can we pump the brakes? You still have a Joe Montana.
Yep.
You still have a Brady that has done it and have been more successful. The yards, to me, is not a fair thing.
Right.
Because Terry Bradshaw, who's got about four
championships,
he was asked to do and be a different player.
Hand off
they
Franco
ran
Harris.
The ball and played defense.
Franco Harris, Rocky Blair, yeah.
Exactly. Players were different in that particular time. I think it's hard, just like the LeBron and Jordan comparison.
Yes.
The basketball was different. The expectations of the player was different.
Yes.
They were literally getting mauled every day as quarterbacks in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Those rules, i.e. the Tuck rule that got the Patriots back to their first Super Bowl in 2002, was not going on at that time. So really, you got to think about the expectations.
Yes.
So as Patrick Mahomes is now, I think he is the best player in the NFL.
Oh, he's the best.
Exciting. He is doing that.
He's the best.
However, you take and pull him 10, 15 years ago, he might not even be a starter due to the way he looked or the way he played the game. So I'm just saying they often tried to take athletic players and say, hey, we want you to be a pocket quarterback.
Well,
and then they took a quarterback who ran and only put him in. Remember my boy Cordell Stewart?
Cordell Stewart, yeah.
They called him Slash.
Yep.
He only came in earlier in his career when they wanted the run-pass option, right?
Yep.
Quarterback T. He didn't get to do everything till he got older and he became more of a stable pocket quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they tried to really harness you and make you what they wanted. It's not the way it is now where they look for someone who can do what?
Everything.
Extend a play.
Yep, that's true.
Read the defense. Run if he needs to, not just on a rare time to slide, actually run and take that stuff.
Yes.
So I'm just saying it's kind of interesting how the evolution process of what is needed to be a quarterback today is not what it used to be before. Therefore, I can't say that he has passed Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, or even, I'm going to say this, Jim Kelly to go to 4 Super Bowls, and I am not a Bills fan, but you cannot neglect the fact that they changed with their run and gun, one running back, ace backfield, to where they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, which meant they won 4 AFC championship
games. That's right.
You had to be doing something. So I'm just saying I would like to see him over his career. I am not wishing any ill will, but also he has not been injured.
Right.
He has not had to suffer anything like you see so many of the quarterbacks have had to do. So I'm just saying it's a little bit different. They're on the launching platform now. There's a foul if you sneeze in their direction a lot of the time now. You can't even pass gas without somebody looking at you funny. But back in the day, they could take your helmet off.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, pump the brakes. I love what he's doing. He's articulate.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's a great interview, and appreciate him for what he is. But there was a lot of brothers that have been doing that for a long time.
Didn't
get their flowers.
That's very, very true. He beat Tua Tagovailoa in the playoffs with the Dolphins. Also beat He went to Buffalo, beat them, and then obviously took care of Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. So he's beaten Josh Allen, he's beaten Superman Lamar Jackson, and then beat the 49ers, all his friend Levin War. I want to touch on something. As you know, we are in Black History Month, and I think every day is Black History Month because all life came from the African continent. According to science, Dr. Lee King Gregory Mendel, we're the only group with 9 series DNA. So I want to take you back to the March on Washington. You know, we're in the anniversary of that. It's not necessarily going to make mainstream news, but there is more talk of reparations, which is what the March on Washington really was about. But mainstream media made it be something about, well, they just want to take time off work, which I didn't like that narrative. But give me your feeling on the March on Washington anniversary. It's not really prevalent news, your thoughts.
That's very true. It's unfortunate how that has slipped through the cracks, knowing how impactful the first time that you had those kinds of hundreds of thousands of people come together to make a statement on what was going on in the United States that was held a secret that people didn't know about in other countries. So it's just interesting how they pulled back from that. It wasn't just the speech that Martin Luther King so eloquently said. It wasn't just that. It was the fact that you had all these people coming together for their goals. That in itself is huge.
For unity.
And then when you go to what he said, how he directed people, how he even suggested that his death was near. What did he say? I might not be with you.
But we will get to the mountaintop. We will get to the promised land.
Right? We'll get there. I might not be with you, but just understand we're going that direction. And it just blows me away because that was so much more. That was Stokely Carmichael. That was Malcolm X. That was Martin Luther King. That was Jesse Jackson. You have to think of so many people that been in this struggle. That was Muhammad Ali. You have to think about the people that were standing up for the right things. And let me add, there was plenty of white people. There was plenty of people that weren't black that was pro what was going on. But at the end of the day, the people that was taking the shrapnel, the people that was coming through first were the people of color. So it just blows me away how that is not really encapsulated as a turning point, because it wasn't just his death, which new information is coming out that when he got to the hospital, he had not passed already. That in fact, the doctor, I don't know if you knew this, the doctor said, let that blankety blank person die. And they didn't give him all the services. This information came out recently that when he was at the hospital, he wasn't instantly dead. They waited and watched him die and pronounced him dead after the fact. So I'm just saying, as more and more things come out, it's just so frustrating. But I'm going to tell you this. Like you said, all's fair in love and war. God is good when? Every day.
Every day.
But my point is, he planted the seed. He made it to where we were ready to take the next step. And that is good leadership. They're not going to do everything for you, but they're going to put you in a position to stand on their shoulders and see more and further than where they could.
That's very well said, August. And that's what I'm trying to do. The great August Wesley, head coach of Cape Verde, and then the Olympics wrestling great, Northern California icon, also a father that's passed on it through his pedigree. His son, Anthony, is also training to make the Olympics, and I believe he will be. As we close out today, and it's never enough time talking with you, I always appreciate how you elucidate subjects, and I just appreciate talking to you about things that are real, not only for African Americans, but people all over the world, as Big C Sports goes all over the world. In fact, at the Olympic Village, you were talking to me from the Olympic Village in Japan on Big C Sports Podcast, so I thank you for that. The final question I want to ask you, August, in closing, is what do you see happening now for millions of athletes all over the world, and especially in the United States, when it comes to their finances? I work with groups of attorneys and long-term care advisors with 3 decades of experience, and our goal is to reach out to people and show them how to protect their assets the same way, O.J. Simpson, whether people like him or not, his assets have been protected since the days that he played professional football back in the 70s and early 80s. There's a lot of athletes now, they're broke within 5 years of retiring, going through $100 million in some cases. In the last minute or so, your thoughts on what the athletes need when the paychecks and the crowd noise stops? Your thoughts?
Wow. I mean, this could be another 2-hour segment. I wish we had the time. But Big C Sports always gives a great platform to talk about what's hot and what's current now. So I wanted to say this. One, Houston has a black head coach and a black quarterback.
D'Amico Ryan,
so that was awesome. That was awesome to see that.
Yes.
Because you don't often see those kinds of things side by side.
CJ
And
Stroud,
unfortunately, San Francisco let their defensive coordinator go.
What a
He's
joke.
a brother, and he has not really had the opportunity that he should have. But he was a scapegoat,
Sure
and
was.
that was so unfair for him to do that when he held and dominated Patrick Mahomes for most of the time, and then you go ahead and get rid of him. Hey, how about the Offensive Player of the Year? He was stifled. That's maybe that has to do with the offensive coaching.
Yeah.
So it just blows me away that they're quick to turn and look and dismiss somebody that was part of the success. They had one of the best defenses that they've had. You forgot about the whole year's worth of defense. You forgot about how well he called plays in the Super Bowl, and then you're just going to dismiss him?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a whole nother conversation, but people of color don't often land on their feet the same way other people do once you get fired. And you fired him after a Super Bowl, which means everyone already hired defensive coordinators. Head coaching positions are all gone. So now he's a victim of his own success because what is he going to be, somebody's linebacker coach? Get out of here, Charlton. He is way better than that, and it's unfortunate. And I'm not a Niner fan.
Right.
I'm just speaking that that's unfortunate what ends up happening. So I know that's not what you asked me, but I just had to say that.
Please do. You can talk about that, August, and I want to piggyback on what you're saying. We'll go about 2 or 3 minutes. But Mike Shanahan, he's considered a guru of coaching. But when he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, they gave up a 25-point lead to the New England Patriots. He was the offensive coordinator. He also gave up a 10-point lead to Kansas City in the Super Bowl 54 and Super Bowl 58. They stopped scoring. And also in the NFC Championship game, they had a 10-point lead over the LA Rams just 2 years ago down at SoFi Stadium, and they gave up a 10-point lead. They blame that the offense stopped scoring. He's the offensive guru. How did the defensive team shut him down? He still has a job. He's still the coach's son. He's still part of the Good Old Boy Network, which is for white men, and people know that. I speak the truth. If you don't believe me, Google it. But a black man, he led the 49ers to the NFC Championship and the number one seed in the NFC. They won the NFC Championship game. They took the number one quarterback in the Super Bowl, maybe in the history of the Super Bowl, and took him to overtime, only the second overtime in the history of the Super Bowl. And within 3 days, they said, "You're fired." That makes no sense. Your thoughts?
No sense at all. The only thing since 1950 that has been seen more than that Super Bowl was seen was the
Apollo
landing
11.
on the moon with Armstrong. So all these people saw this in real time, number one. Number two, it is so frustrating when you sit back and look at the amount of times that coach, and nothing against him, his father coached for the Denver Broncos. I am a Broncos fan through and through. But at the end of the day, you sit there and look, what constitutes an offensive guru? Here's a thought, win one. Then when you win one, we can talk about your tree. Then when you win one, we can talk about that, because I can tell you they talked bad about Marv Levy. They talked bad about Dan Reeves, who was the Broncos head coach. All these guys that had trouble
Bud Grant,
stuff.
Minnesota Vikings.
Right?
Bud
Grant, right? Purple people eater. You got to sit there and look at all these people that had the same thing. Why isn't he getting that same level of stress? Why isn't he getting to go and to fire that man was an injustice. It's hard to swallow, but it's just double, because now he's going to have that stigmatism on him is he did something wrong, when I think it was a collapse. When you have players saying they don't know the overtime rules,
exactly, that's the head coach. That's the head coach.
They're saying it. I didn't know. No one told us.
Right.
And you have the other team saying we've been practicing this all year.
Exactly.
Hello?
Exactly.
How are you not prepared? Are you asleep at the wheel? It just blows my mind, some of the things that can be said, and it doesn't seem, at least to our eyes, that there's the same level of accountability. I would have thought they would have said, let's run this back. But guess what? Some of those same pieces that they had this year might be a little bit too expensive to come back next year. And then you're going to have the lack of continuity because you won't have that defensive coach in place. So now what? So it's just interesting. I think his days are numbered. I think that the fact that the NFC is getting more competitive, the AFC I think is very well, but I think the NFC is getting a little bit more competitive. Look at the top quarterbacks are going to be going over to the NFC side.
Yeah.
Detroit isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Good.
You got Green Bay looking better than they have, and in his own backyard, you're going to have teams like LA that are going to be vying for a playoff bid. So I'm just saying that that's going to come back to bite him in the butt, and I'm not going to feel too bad.
No, I'm not going to feel too bad. Not feel too bad. Talking to the great August Wesley, head coach of Olympic team Cape Verde on Big C Sports Podcast. You know, I always love talking to you, August. I do want to close out by saying I wish you and your mother the very best as we send out prayers all over the world to the recovery for your beautiful mom. And I will catch you down the road. I just wish you nothing but the very best. In the last 20 seconds, I know you got something to say because you always do. Go right ahead, please.
I do. I wanted to say, because I didn't answer your question about finances, it's a tragedy how people aren't given the same level of education about their money as they are about doing the Euro step or doing a fadeaway or a three-point. I can tell you that my good friend, his name is Scott Huckleby. I trust him with everything. He does work with How Money Works. He's a financial licensed educator.
Yes.
They give free information on how parents can plan for their kids going to college, how they can save, invest, use their 401k, and it is fabulous work. People need to get educated, and so many people that have money don't take the time to do that. He's right there in Sacramento. I'm going to tell you his number. It's 916-229-7415. His name is Scott Huckleby. He does this stuff for education. He helps parents plan for their college. I can tell you, as a college head coach, the biggest problem I ran into, and the biggest problem that's affecting people that think their kid has a wicked jump shot or they're faster and they can score better, is the fact that once they graduate and they get a scholarship doesn't mean everything. It could mean books. Your son's in college. It could mean books. It could mean tuition. It could mean food. It could mean a lot of things. And parents aren't ready to bridge that gap. So now there's what it's called, and it's called direct cost. That means after the scholarship, after the money you get for your subsidized and unsubsidized loans, what you, the parent, the expectation that you're going to pay. So many parents are not prepared because they don't have the credit to get a Fair Plus loans. We already know the banking system isn't necessarily set up for
as
us.
friendly, right?
And it's not. And in a lot of areas and towns, there's a check cashing place in a liquor store in the place of where a bank should be in South Sacramento or in the other side of Natomas. But my point is, institutionally wise, people aren't getting that same effort and education towards making your money work for you. And that is the biggest problem I went into. So when I leaned upon Scott and asked him, how can I help my parents that will be graduating? They may be a junior or a sophomore. It was so refreshing to know that they have answers with How Money Works and to really prepare these parents. So when your kid does have the grades and is accepted to a state school or out of state, you as a parent can be financially sound enough to help him get there, because too many parents have their kids, and there's nothing wrong with junior college. I went to Sierra College and graduated. I went to ARC. I get it. But too many kids get lost in the wash there because they can't financially go to Sac State, UC Davis, San Francisco.
Exactly.
They can't do that, and there's umbrellas set up for them to be successful once you're in the bosom of those schools. But when you're in JC, you have too many transient people, day students, night students, weekend people. So I really firmly, if you get anything from this, just understand that knowing your finances, and you don't got to be rich. You just have to have a plan. And I felt as though Scott has been able to help me. I've seen him help others, and I'm sure you have other resources to him. But just it just makes a difference to have somebody that knows what they're trying to do and trying to help people in the masses. So once again,
well said.
Scott Huckleby on How Money Works. He's your guy.
Very well said, August. This is Big C Sports speaking to August Wesley, head coach of Cape Verde, a great wrestler, Northern California's finest. I'm going to have to catch you down the road, August, but I always appreciate talking to you. I wish your mother the very best, and thanks for coming on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Let's go!
We'll take the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. And streaming on 4 TV platforms. Just have the great August Wesley, head coach, Olympic team, Cape Verde. Really do appreciate him and his knowledge, and also wishing his mother the very best of God's favor. I want to say also with Big C Sports, the Big C team and RDC, a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, long-term solutions by the book, long-term care solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication liaison with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more, protection of your assets. I'm working on a commercial called, is it Aflac? No, it's called Protect Your Assets. Are you saying Aflac like the duck? No, protecting your assets. Asset protection. We got that covered. Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. You want to give that some praise? You get that with the Big C team, 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Before I close out today's show, I want to make sure that I play you something that it's a speech by one of the greatest orators in the history of the universe. You can't deny that reparations are due when you hear this man speak, because he's considered the civil rights leader for this great country. And listen to what he says about reparations.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
You got to give that some praise. Nobody talks like that except for the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Big C Sports. I love that speech by Dr. King. Why the Big C team with RDC, long-term care solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience. Also endorsed by George H. Jones, attorney, ESQ, chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Also, Mr. Leon Woods, resource development consultant, one of the top lobbyists in the state of California. Michelle Brown, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. Also, Mr. Ray De La Cruz, CEO of Resource Development Consulting, over 3 decades of experience. Mr. Alex De La Cruz, founder of American Veteran Benefits. And also Charlton Curry, the business development consultant. That's why you want to give us praise. Learn to protect your assets. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Really do appreciate that. I just got so much to talk about, but I wish there was 44 hours in a day. But I do always want to say I love giving praise to my family, from my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my beautiful mother, the mother of my mama in the history of the universe, my beautiful father, the number one father in the history of the universe. Really do appreciate my brother Todd and my beautiful daughter Daisy and my very handsome son Malcolm. And I just wish you guys so much. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul, and Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years. As I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of the car. after they've been drinking. Don't let them drive. The life you save may be your own or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, my mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. Nobody who loves you goes up beside your head. If you know anybody going up beside your head and saying, hey, it's your fault you make me mad, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to do with that crap. Nobody. Anyone who loves you, they will not put their hands on you. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. Love is always the answer. No matter what you're going through, love is the answer. People who love you, they don't put their hands on you. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to say reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it, as I love doing Big C Sports podcast. And this is the time that I ask you to stand at the table of brotherhood as we salute President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when they said, President Biden, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, y'all. You just say it louder. You were cheering louder for the football game. Stand up on your feet and say, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, I've heard you cheer louder at a Little League baseball game. And definitely at a football game. Let's sign reparations now. Let's sign reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super, super duper fantastic day.